This is Carrie Campbell, a Huntsville resident who recently lost her husband to cancer. She will be taking part in the OneWalk Conquering Cancer event to benefit Princess Margaret in Toronto on September 10th. This is an important event for Campbell and her family. She begins her story by admitting she used to be naive when it came to cancer.
Last March, we found out that my husband, Mark Reed, had two 6-centimeter tumors in his lower spine, which was a shock for us. We knew that he had herniated discs, so we thought his back pain was disc related. So when we found out about the tumors, then the very next day, actually, we were at RVH seeing Mark's first oncologist, and it took over our lives for the next 6 months. So Mark ended up having a very rare lymphoma. Was very difficult to diagnose. There's so many tests involved: biopsies, MRIs, CT scans. Mark had some surgeries, just so much. So his lymphoma ended up being something called a double hit lymphoma, which you don't want, but his also had a very unusual indicator. So he essentially had his own type of cancer, and so there's no formal protocol for his type of cancer. At Princess Margaret, he stayed there for a number of weeks while they tried to get things under control. When he first got to Princess Margaret, we realized for the first time that not only did he have the two tumors in his lower spine, which had been radiated at RVH, but he had a tumor in his neck. And they had to radiate immediately at Princess Margaret. They were worried that was going to actually paralyze him. But at the same time, he had this tumor on his chest wall that needed to be treated with some type of chemo. So even before knowing what he had, the chemo started. And with the very aggressive nature of his cancer, the lymphoma team got him on the most aggressive chemo that exists. And he carried on with that protocol through to the end of June, I guess it was. And we were really hopeful at that point that Mark was going to beat this cancer. He had a CT scan, and we were told that he was in partial remission, and his next step was to have a stem cell transplant. So that's what we were gearing ourselves up for in the summer. When we were heading back to Toronto, because Mark was home for 2 or 3 weeks in between the protocol ending and going back to meet with the stem cell transplant oncologist, we realized that we knew that the tumor on his chest wall was starting to grow. We were afraid it was starting to grow because of the difference in his skin. So we were heading back there for his PET scan, and I went into the lymphoma clinic while Mark was in his PET scan. I went in there and I was a mess, to put it mildly. And so they saw us after his PET scan, and we found out that the cancer was actually active. And it was about a week later that we found out that Mark's cancer had broken through, essentially, the chemo protocol. And there was nothing else left to try, that was the most aggressive chemo that was out there. So Mark, when we were told that all that was left was palliative, Mark died about 2.5 weeks later. When Mark was at Princess Margaret, it was important for us to feel that we could give back to Princess Margaret. They did take such good care of him, and the team of doctors, they're spectacular, and the oncology nurses are simply amazing. And we really wanted to give back to Princess Margaret. So So we created a team, and Mark was so proud of us and our fundraising efforts, and was so thankful to our friends and family and colleagues that were donating to our team. And then when Mark died, and we realized that, for example, a cancer like his, there's nothing more out there yet. Just that realization of how much more needs to be done. And we just all need to take part. I think the stats are right now that 2 in 5 of us will be diagnosed with cancer in our lifetime, and one in 4 of us will die. And it's too high. It seems crazy to me that that's still where we're at, despite how far we've come. So there's still so much more to be done. And for me, Princess Margaret, being not just a cancer treatment hospital, but an actual research hospital, they're one of the top 5 cancer research hospitals in the world. It's just so important for me that we have that resource right here in Canada, and we need to support them and their work that they do. We have a team of 6, so my stepmother and my sister and her boyfriend, who all live in Toronto and Oakville, they're coming, they're part of our team. There's another lawyer from Gravenhurst, Valerie Tingy, she's on our team, and a school teacher from Huntsville, Lee Fett, a good friend of mine, she's on our team as well. So we're all starting to get in shape for this. It's 25 kilometers, so I've been doing myself, because I have a new puppy, we've been going on long hikes through Algonquin Park and whatnot to help get in shape. I think that family is doing amazing. And I think that is in a large part because of who Mark was. So Mark, he was the most adventurous person. He loved to travel, he loved sports, he made everything an adventure. And he cared about people. And this walk is all about caring for people. And I think that, I honor him by continuing to walk each year.